Dawn Ledoux is suing her ex-husband, Robert Cole, for half the cost of a car purchased for their daughter.
Order. All rise. Yeah, it's case number 314 on the calendar in the matter of Ledoux versus Cole.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
You folks have been divorced for many years. You have one child together, and it is your claim that your former husband is responsible for one half of the cost of a car that you purchased for your daughter.
Yes.
And he said he never agreed to pay for one half of the cost of the car. You went ahead and did that on your own after some preliminary discussions with him.
No.
I'm letting you know what his defense is. So, when was this car purchased for your daughter?
May 11th of 2009.
And who was present when the car was purchased?
Myself and my daughter, Vanessa.
When did you first have this discussion with your former wife about purchasing a car for your daughter?
The day she was there purchasing the car.
Prior to May 11th then of 2009, you had not had a discussion with your former wife about purchasing a car?
No.
Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Okay, yes, I did. I had called him a couple days before. I said I found her a car on the internet, and then I had asked him if he would be willing to split the cost of the car for her. I told him about the car, the year, the make, the model. He works at the dealership, so he said he would check into it then and check the VIN on it to make sure it was a decent deal for the car.
Is this now sounding a little more familiar to you, Mr. Cole? Because this sounds reasonable to me.
No, it doesn't sound reasonable or familiar.
It was true.
I got a call from my ex-wife saying, hey, I found a car. Which dealership you at? I asked her.
Not true.
Hey, that's part of our sister stores. We have 24 stores.
Yes.
I said, let me call up there, see if I can get her a better deal for you.
Oh,
that's what I did.
Fine. So she wasn't there at the dealership. That's what she's saying.
She had already decided to buy the car.
No.
No, she said she found the car on the internet. That's what she said. She said, I found the car on the internet. I called him, and I told him about the car. She asked for the VIN number so that you could check it, which I assume you did.
I can check the VIN number in 5 minutes.
No. That's not what I asked you, Mr. Cole.
And I didn't check the VIN number, no.
You did not?
No.
Okay.
No, I asked my manager to call up there to see what kind of deal we can get on the car. They know what they own it for, so that's what I did.
We weren't talking about deal. We were talking about VIN number.
Right.
That's what you said.
I gave him all the information. He said he would check out the car. Yes.
Oh, then it wasn't the VIN number. You see, when I say to you, Miss Ledoux, when I say to you, I want you to tell me what you said to him. And what he said to you, there is a reason for that. Because then I don't have to waste the last 5 minutes that I just did. If he said, I'll check out the car, that's one thing. If he said, I'll check out the VIN number, that's an entirely different thing. Do we understand each other now? Don't waste my time. It's irritating.
Okay.
Now, did he say, I'll check out the car for you?
Yes, because he
All right. What else did he say? And what did you say?
Once he said he checked out the car, we went there to check the car out, look at it in person, took it for a test drive. He had called there and got the $200 off of it, but I did not purchase the car. It was not the same day.
So he had already gotten you $200 off the price that you had seen it on the internet?
He would call and thought
That's not what I asked you. There was a price on the car on the internet, which was?
It was $3,400. Then I had negotiated with them to $3,200.
You had negotiated with them on the phone?
Yes, the dealership.
On the phone?
On the phone.
And then he got $200 off of that. So by the time you got there, the car was $3,000.
$3,000. And I have a
any of that sound familiar to you? $200 off the price?
Yes, definitely. Yep.
Fine. So there was some discussion before you went to the dealership.
Yes.
Clearly, because it wasn't done all on the 11th. Was the car purchased on the 11th?
Yes.
And you have the bill of sale for the 11th?
Yes.
It was purchased on the 11th, and this discussion was had before. Okay, I'd like to see it. Now, let's get back to the discussion that you had where you split the cost of the car with me. What did Mr. Cole say to you?
That he was totally agreed to this?
No, that's not what I asked you. That's not what any normal person would say, Miss Ledoux. Yes, I totally agreed with this. That is not what a person says. Do you understand? Just like he checked the VIN number as opposed to check out the car. That's different. What did he say when you said to him, would you split the cost of the car with me?
Yes, he would split the cost of the car with me.
No, that's not what he said, because that's not what normal speech is. Now, you can say, I don't remember what he said. That would be different. But normal speech, would you split the cost of the car with me for our daughter? That would be normal.
Yeah, I didn't say that.
I didn't ask you anything. But normal speech is
Well,
not.
I don't know the exact
Yes, I will split the cost of the car with you. That's not the response.
He said yes.
He wouldn't even say that. There would be something more than that if he had a discussion with you, Miss Ledoux. If he said he'd split the cost of the car with you, and you purchased the car on the 11th, and he works for the dealership, the check would have been in the mail on the 12th. So there was something else that he said to you during that conversation that suggested to you that he might share the cost of the car with you, but you weren't going to get your money immediately.
That he would send the check to me after the car was purchased?
Are you asking me? I wasn't there.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's what he said.
No, that wasn't said either.
He said to you, purchase the car and I'll send you a check after the car is purchased? Is that what you're telling me he said? Don't make it up as you're going along, Miss Ledoux.
I'm not making it. Was just a long time ago. I don't know verbatim.
Well, if it's a long time ago and you don't remember verbatim, then say, I don't remember
I don't remember verbatim the conversation other than he was fine with splitting the cost of the car. Otherwise, I would have never went and bought this car for her. I would have bought something cheaper that I could afford.
Okay. Now, when was the first time you had a conversation with him about payment for the car after the car was purchased?
Maybe a day or two later.
Was that on the phone?
Yes.
And?
I told him the price of the car, and he said he would send a check out to me.
It didn't happen either. That didn't happen.
Go ahead.
Well, there was many attempts after. My daughter even would send him a message, a text, or call him to remind him that he owed me the money, and he had never paid it.
Okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
This says you agreed to help with the car.
Definitely.
Right.
And I have helped.
What? No.
$200 off right away.
No.
I put tires on the car.
Mr. Cole, that's baloney, sir.
Really?
That's baloney.
And later today,
So what makes you think Mr. Rawley is responsible for the fire or the damage?
He didn't get my permission to use my computer or sit at my desk in the first place, Your Honor.
Well, that's ridiculous, Miss Kingscott.
How is that ridiculous?
I mean, that's ridiculous. Actually, it's ridiculous.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Dawn Ledoux says ex-husband Robert Cole owes for half the cost of a car purchased for their daughter. Robert claims he never agreed to pay.
Let me ask you this question. You've been divorced for 17 years. You have a child support order for your daughter?
I do.
And how much is that order?
Well, that got changed.
No, that's
Right
not
now?
what I asked you.
Okay.
What was the order initially?
It was $188 a month.
And that got changed when?
I don't know the exact date, when Vanessa was like 12 or 13 years old.
To what?
Like $600 a month.
And now how old is your daughter?
She is 20 right now.
And was the order ever changed after it was $600 a month?
No.
So it's remained $600 a month?
Yes.
No,
Yes.
that's wrong.
What?
It's a cost of living increase.
Well-
It's a state law, so it goes up every 2 years. It's gone more than that, way more than 600.
To how much?
It was almost $800, per month, which I've paid.
Just a second.
Yep.
Just a second. $800 a month, which you paid until your daughter was how old?
Till she graduated from high school, which she was 18.
And there is no issue, I can almost guarantee that you were current in your child support.
Yeah, everything was fine.
Your daughter is in college now.
Correct.
Do you help out with college?
I do.
Tell me how you help out with college.
Well, when she needed a new bed, we bought her a new bed.
No, I'm not talking about new bed, I'm talking about
Well,
college.
that's part of helping out in college. You got to
Yeah.
have a place to sleep.
Yeah,
So she had to
okay.
sleep on a bed.
Okay.
She asked a couple times if she could get some money. We wrote out a check for $700, wrote out another one for $200. Granted, I can't afford to give her as much as I'd like to, but I have given her as much as I
Who
can.
pays for college?
Vanessa has student loans.
You were giving her $800 a month, and you were current in your child support until she turned 18.
Yeah, I'm a good dad. I take care of what I have to do. My daughter and I have a great relationship.
I'm glad. So far, I don't have any serious difficulty with you, Mr. Cole, actually, with regard to your parental responsibility. I'm just asking you whether it ever occurred to you to give your daughter part of that $800 a month that you had been sending to her mother instead of sending it to her mother to give it to her to defray some of her costs
Well,
and some of her student loans.
If that's possible, I would, but it's directly taken out by the state or by the county right out of my paychecks and
But
given
not
to
anymore.
Vanessa to- Well, no, it's not anymore.
Well, that's what I'm talking
Right.
about, sir. I mean, was there something confusing about what I said to you?
Yeah,
I'm a
actually it
judge.
was.
I'm a judge. I know that at a certain age, money stops coming out of
Right.
your salary directly, and it stopped, according to you, when
Correct.
she turned 18, when she graduated from high school. So my question to you was a relatively simple one, which was, Did it ever occur to you to say, well, I've been paying her mother $800 a month. I'm sure I could manage $400 a month for you, sweetheart, you know, to help defray the cost of books and everything else while you're in college. That's going to stop when college is over.
And I have. And like I said, I have checks that I've helped her as much as I could.
You've told me $900 over a period of 2 years.
I bought her new tires for her car as well. That's another $360, you know.
Nice.
I'm trying to. I'm just trying to help out as much as I can. That's what I told Don when we first started this.
All nice.
Your Honor.
And what?
Could I give you this evidence?
What is it?
It was when he was saying that he did not agree with me, that he did not purchase the car. I purchased it. There's text messages stating that he acknowledges owing me the money.
Oh, I'd like to see that. I also am interested in the purchase of tires in September. Did your daughter tell you that she needed the tires?
Yes.
Okay. Would you give this to him, please, and let him take a look at it?
There's nowhere in here that says I would pay any certain amount or any half or anything.
The courts have the ability, sir, to read into that, and there is certainly an indication there that you said you would help with the car.
Exactly.
The fact that you didn't say, well, sir, this says you agree to help with the car.
Definitely.
Right.
And I have helped.
What? No.
$200 off right away.
No.
I put tires on the car.
Mr. Cole, that's baloney, sir.
Really?
Yes, that's baloney.
So that's not help at all?
No, that's not what you were talking about here.
That's exactly what I was talking about there.
No, sir, it isn't, because this was a year after the car was purchased. I know I agreed to help with the car, but my wedding was expensive.
It was.
That's what you're talking about. Well, that's not anybody's fault. Mr. Cole, I'm not faulting you. I think you took care of your parental responsibility.
Definitely.
Up until the court told you that you didn't have to anymore. And then you were helping your child. Then
wait. How does that, up until the court told me that I didn't have to?
When you were,
I take care of my daughter there's more than just money. We do a lot of different things together. Support, I am a very good father.
Mr. Cole, I'm not faulting you. As I said to you before, I'm not faulting you. And I said that you did, in fact, take care of your parental responsibility until your daughter turned 18, which was when the court told you
I don't have to give my ex-wife any more money.
You could stop supporting your child. And if you said to me, I'm not sending her $800 anymore, but I'm taking that $800 that I was sending her, or part of it, because I want to be able to breathe a little bit, and give it directly to my daughter while she's at school for pocket money, for books, so that she wouldn't have to take out that much in student loans. I mean, we did that with our children when they were, believe me, well beyond 21, when they were in all different kinds of schools. And it does require a major sacrifice.
Right.
It does require a sacrifice. And all I'm suggesting to you, sir, is because a child turns 18, and I'm not talking about going hiking and bicycle riding and taking them on vacation and sending them $200 if they need it, if they call for it. I'm talking about seeing to it that by the time they graduate from college, they are not encumbered with debt up to here if you can help them. Right. If you can help them. And if she goes to school where she needs a car, she has to have a car. You owe her $1,500. Pay her. That's all.
How does that excuse you may step out?
Obviously, maybe I should take a little bit into what Judge Judy said in consideration and help my daughter a little bit more monthly.
Try to, help their kids out as best as they can.
Sometimes you get caught up in life and you think other things are better than what they are.
That we can just move on from this now and be done.
Just move on. Move on from life, and that's it,
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of King Scott versus Raleigh. Step forward, please.
Cherie Kingscott is suing her ex-boyfriend, Ronnie Raleigh, for accidentally starting a fire in her apartment. Ronnie insists he's not to blame.
Ms. Kingscott, the defendant was your boyfriend. He was at your apartment, and this was August of 2009, so over a year ago.
Yes, but he wasn't my boyfriend.
Well, what was he?
We dated briefly, and then we just remained friends.
Yeah, well, he was a friend. He's a boy. He was at your apartment. According to you, he's responsible for some damage to your apartment caused by a fire that was caused by him. Defendant says that you were the one who had the candles burning in the house. He did nothing to ignite a fire. It's not his responsibility. The damage was minimal. August 9th, when the fire started, who was at home?
Myself, my daughter, and the defendant.
And the fire was started by what?
A candle.
Was the defendant living with you at the time?
No.
So it was your candle?
Yes.
Who lit it?
I did.
What time did you light it?
11:15.
In the morning?
In the morning, yes.
And what time was the fire?
Around 12:15.
And where had you put the candle?
I had put it in a candle holder on my computer. It's been the same way for 3 years.
You put it in a candle holder?
Yes.
On top of your computer?
On my computer desk, yes.
How many candles did you light?
One.
And that's where the defendant was sitting?
Without my permission, yes.
He was not there without your permission, madam. If he was there without your permission, he would have been a trespasser. You would have called the police and had him arrested. He was in your house with your permission?
Yes.
Right. And according to you, the next thing you heard was a smoke detector going off and there was smoke?
Yes.
So what makes you think Mr. Rawley is responsible for the fire or the damage?
Okay, I ran an errand, me and my daughter.
You were home at the time. I read your papers. You ran an errand, you were with your daughter, but
because
you came
he didn't
home,
get
then
my
you were
permission.
home.
Okay.
Then you were home. You were home, your daughter was home, he was home.
He didn't get my permission to use my computer or sit at my desk in the first place, Your Honor.
Well, that's ridiculous, Miss Kingscott.
How is that ridiculous?
I mean, that's ridiculous. Actually, it's ridiculous. What you're supposed to do is before you go out, you're supposed to put it out. You don't light a candle at 11 o'clock in the morning and take your daughter out for an errand. There's no reason to have a lit candle in your house while you're out of the house. And you can't always blame somebody else for what happens. Do you know what happened, sir? Do you know how the fire started?
I don't know exactly how it happened. I have an idea.
I don't care about your idea. I just want to know, do you know how it happened?
No, ma'am.
Do you know how it happened? No, you weren't there.
I was in the house when it happened.
Well, so was he. But he doesn't know. He says, I have an idea how it happened. I'm not interested in his speculation. We don't deal in speculation in the courts.
Right, but he was the last one at my desk. I know what he told me. He told me that candle was leaning out of the candle holder and that he attempted to move like this. He attempted to move the mat. And I'm figuring maybe
Don't tell me what you figured.
From what he told me, and he attempted to move the mat, maybe it flicked back, and when he walked away, it started a fire. Because I've had it like that for 3 years, and no incident has ever happened.
Well,
Many
this time
of
it
guests,
happened.
friends, family members.
This time it happened.
Oh.
Miss Kingscott, this is your house, your candle. You lit it. You left it unattended. Mm-hmm. If you saw that he even unintentionally started the fire, we would have a discussion. But neither one of you knows how it started. All you know is it started.
Oh, may I say something?
What?
Anna? Okay, now, when I left to run an errand...
I don't care about you leaving.
It's important because he was in my room. He wasn't even on
Madam, if you wanted him out of your house, you called the police and have him removed. He was in your house with your permission, and you didn't leave him in one corner of the house. You didn't say to him, you may stand in this corner, in the right corner of the kitchen. He was in the house. He was in the house with access to the house. And
yeah, but not to my computer.
Miss Kingscott, you have to take care of your own problems. If it's your house and you lit the fire and you left it unattended, if somehow a spark flew and a fire started and there was $600 worth of damage, you have to pay for that. Thank you. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He pretty much just got away with being a legal stalker.
I don't have the time to even stalk, even if I wanted to do it. I got too much to do. That's positive.
The guy is annoying. He has been irritating me over a year.
And if I was, she wouldn't keep asking me to do her favors.
You know, saying he's in love with me, sending me email messages.
I mean, come on, you should go file a police report if that's the case.
So no, he wasn't my type.
She have nothing better to do.
And he had really, really, really bad breath.
She have just time just to waste.
His breath was like an assault with a deadly weapon.
And I don't know, she just see the opportunity.
Parties on O'Gene versus Hall. Step forward, please.
19-year-old student Jacqueline O'Gene says her former boyfriend, 18-year-old Andre Hall, crashed her car twice and assaulted her, breaking her cheekbone.
Order. All rise.
Yeah, this is case number 100 on the calendar in the matter of O'Gene versus Hall. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat.
Are you her father?
Yes.
What's your first name, Miss O'Gene?
Jacqueline.
Jacqueline, according to your complaint, you and the defendant were a couple when you were teenagers.
Yes.
How old are you now?
I'm 19.
How old are you, sir?
18.
And you started to live together with your parents' permission.
Well, no, that's not true. I was moving away to go to college, and his mom was moving to the same town, and my dad offered to pay half the rent while I was in college, and I needed a roommate. As soon as I moved to Buffalo, I didn't have a roommate. I put up signs and stuff, And
So you chose him as a roommate.
it was supposed to only be temporary.
So your father paid for half the rent and his mother paid for half the rent.
Yes.
But you were boyfriend and girlfriend.
Yes.
And according to this complaint, you bought a car.
Yes.
He had an accident with the car, and he drove the car again, and he wrecked the car.
Yes.
And then, when you ultimately separated, you had an argument, and he broke your jaw.
Yes.
So let's start at the beginning. You moved in together. Both going to college?
No, I dropped out.
Then what were you doing in Buffalo?
I live in Buffalo.
So what were you doing when you were living with her?
Working.
Okay. And you were driving her car?
Yes.
You had an accident?
Yes.
First one.
Yes.
Why don't you tell me about it?
I backed into a truck.
And you caused damage to the truck?
Yes.
Did you pay for it?
No.
Why?
Because I didn't get the bill. She got the bill.
Did you say, could I have the bill?
Nah.
Why not?
Because she had the bill.
That should have been your first clue, right? So this bill for the damaged truck that he backed into is still outstanding.
Yes.
And how much was the damage to the truck that he hit?
$937.02.
So after he drove your car, backed into the truck, which he didn't pay for, you let him drive the car again.
Yes, I did.
Why?
Well, because at the time he still said, well, you know, he said it was his fault, and he said since it was his fault, he would pay for it. And
But according to this complaint, he left the scene of the accident.
Yes, I know.
Is that right?
Yes.
When you hit the truck, you took off.
Yes.
Why?
Because I didn't want a ticket.
What kind of work were you doing?
What kind of work was I doing? Just working.
Listen, this isn't 20 questions and I got a secret. When I ask you a question, don't give me a ridiculous answer. Working. I said, what kind of work were you doing?
A fast food restaurant.
Okay. So they tracked you down, I gather. Somebody got the license plate number and they tracked you down.
Yes.
Did they notify your father?
No.
Just you?
Yes.
So you let him drive the car again because according to these papers, he had to go return a video or something?
No, after he had gotten in the accident, when he hit the truck, he was going to Batavia, where we're from, to get money from a friend.
And tell me what happened.
He went around a curve too fast and ran into another truck. I have the accident report here.
Well, would you hand it up to Bird, please? So you went into another truck, Mr. Hall,
Yes.
and you totaled the car this time.
Yes.
You're not a very good driver.
The roads are bad.
The roads are bad.
Yeah. It was snowing.
So this car had to be sold, and according to your papers, it was sold for practically no money because it was totaled.
Right. My dad sold it for $400.
Is that right, sir?
Yes. After Andre
Step up here.
after Andre had the accident, he signed the car over into my name, and I paid the towing bill and the storage fee for it.
What do you mean he signed it over into your name? It was in his name?
Yes, they had.
What was the car doing in his name?
After he got in the first accident, my insurance is higher than his, and he had just got his, and I had to put the down payment on the insurance in order for the police to release the car because it was involved in an accident. So I had to sign the car in his name and put the insurance in his name because I couldn't afford it in my name because mine was higher than his.
Yours was higher than his, and he had already been in an accident?
He had just gotten his license like a month before that.
Don't you feel foolish?
Yes.
So I paid the towing and the storage bill on the car and sold it to whoever I could get the highest from. As of last week, I have 3 figures that the car was valued at $4,400 for the average.
Yeah, but she gave the car to him.
See, I had the money to put the insurance on the car. But after he had gotten in the car accident, his was cheaper than mine, so we put in his name, but it was only supposed to be temporary. So, and then we were going to sign it back over to me just a couple months later, just because the down payment mine was higher than his.
Is that right, sir?
No, she had no license, and that's why she signed the car over to my name.
She had no driver's license?
No, her license was suspended.
Was it?
Yes.
For what?
Because I had gotten, just from tickets, I had gotten tickets that I didn't pay.
Another part of this equation is that Andre hasn't worked since I've known him for more than a week straight at any time. Jackie was working as a certified nurse's assistant, and in order to get to these locations, which were not on a bus route, she needed transportation.
And going to college.
And college.
I think that your first course in college should be mate picking 101.
That's probably true.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You disconnected the phone and handed her the receiver.
Yeah.
And then what happened?
She threw the phone back at me and chipped my teeth, and then I punched her in the mouth.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Former cheerleader Jacqueline O'Gene claims her ex-boyfriend, Andre Hall, crashed her car and assaulted her, breaking her cheekbone. He says he hit her in self-defense.
Now, I read in this complaint that there came a time when you finally got disgusted with him and you moved out.
Yes.
And then you say he assaulted you. I want you to tell me about that, because that's the greatest part of your claim.
We were arguing one night over something. It was stupid. We were arguing, and I said I wanted to wait till the morning to discuss it, and we just kept arguing, and one thing led to another, and he hit me.
Where did he hit you?
On my cheek.
And he broke your jaw?
My cheekbone.
Your cheekbone.
That's not how it happened.
Well, let me hear how it happened. Try to do it without smiling, sir.
Well, what happened was my friend from Batavia came down from Batavia. He was visiting me and Jackie. And when we came down, he met two girls. And we picked the two girls up, and we went to a party. We came back from the party and went to her house. And Jackie...
Oh, just a second. I have to understand this. Your friend came down, you went to a party, you met two girls.
Yes.
Your friend, a male friend?
Male friend.
So your male friend and the two girls went over to Jackie's house?
Yes.
Well, that's interesting. Go ahead.
And she was intoxicated, and she was like, she was getting upset over everything, stupid things she was getting mad over.
Well,
and,
what do you walk into the house, you knock at the door,
no,
you
she
ring
was
the
with
bell.
us when we picked the two girls up.
Oh, she was?
Yes.
Where did you pick them up?
We picked them up on, at the dorms.
I mean, did you know these girls before?
No.
You just went into the dorms hanging
No,
around?
they're outside.
And you just picked them up?
Yep.
And where did you go after you picked them up?
We tried to find a party, but we couldn't find the party. So we went back to her place and drank some more. And she got drunk and started tripping over, like, everything. And the girls had left, and Joe had left. Joe took the girls back home.
So your friend took the girls back home. It was just the two of you in the house?
Yes. And then, like, 10 minutes later, Joe had called and said the other girl wanted to talk to me.
One of the girls wanted to talk to you?
Yeah. I was on the telephone talking to her, and Jackie came out the room, and she was like, who's on the telephone? I was like, nobody. She's like, give me the phone. I said, okay. I took the phone cord out of the phone, gave her the telephone receiver.
Just a minute. She said, who are you talking to? You said nobody. That you were just standing there with the phone in your ear, right?
Yeah.
So she said, let me see.
Yeah.
And you disconnected the phone and handed her the receiver?
Yeah.
Yeah. So she was talking to a dead phone?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then what happened?
She threw the phone back at me and chipped my teeth.
Yeah.
And then, like, I punched her in the mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Your Honor, that's not how it happened. What happened?
You have any bills, sir?
I didn't bring it with me.
This wasn't a surprise that you were coming here today, right?
Yeah.
It was a surprise?
No.
No. Now you tell me how it happened. Good.
What happened was we were all out. My cousin had invited us to go to a party, and his friend from Batavia, Joe, came up, and we had gone to the store, and we were coming back from the store, and, you know, he doesn't have a girlfriend, so he stopped, and he was talking to some girls.
Joe doesn't have a girlfriend.
Right.
You, on the other hand, had Prince Charming over here.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And Joe went back and picked the girls up, and we were all looking for the party that my cousin told me about, but we couldn't find it. So we went back to my apartment, and they left. And then we had just started arguing because we argued all the time because I just feel that everything that I ever had, Andre had started to take from me, you know, my car, everything I had worth of money he had taken. We used to argue all the time, and we were just arguing. And
Why didn't you just dump him?
I probably should have. I don't know, because yeah.
I mean, according to your father, you work?
Yes.
As what?
As a cashier and as a hostess, but I'm going to college full-time also.
In what school?
Erie Community College.
What do you want to be?
I wanted to be an accountant.
Keep having boyfriends like this, you're going to have to be an accountant.
Yeah.
Now, according to your papers, your medical bills were well over $5,000, but most of them were covered by insurance.
Yes.
Tell me about what happened to your mouth when he punched you.
At first, when I went to the emergency room, the ambulance took me there. They thought I had broken my jaw, and they thought they were going to have to wire my jaw shut. But after x-rays, I just had to have surgery to pop the bone back out. And I just couldn't talk for like 3 weeks. Couldn't open my mouth.
That was some hit, sir.
Yes, it was.
Why did you smile?
I didn't smile. You smiled at me.
I smiled at you?
Yeah.
Hardly.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You look like a pretty strong guy. That must have been some wallop you gave her to fracture her cheekbone.
I didn't mean it. I'm saying, if somebody hit you in the mouth with a telephone, you're going to swing back. And I swung back.
Closed captioning sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. Jacqueline O'Jean wants her medical bills and car damages paid by her former boyfriend, Andre Hall.
Do you still see him?
No. I see him around town, like on the buses and stuff. I don't invite him over to my house or anything.
Yes, he does.
No, I don't. He has not been over to my house since it happened.
Yes, I have.
When?
I told him he could come get...
When?
Last time I was over her house was about a month ago.
A month ago?
Yeah.
What were you doing over there?
Talking.
What else?
Nothing.
Did you spend the night?
No, never.
You just went over there to talk?
Yeah. I used to come over, I used to work 11 to 7 down the street from our house, and I went over there a few times in the morning after work.
He calls me up and asks what he would do if he came over, and I said I wouldn't open the door. And he doesn't believe that, but he says he's come over when I haven't been there. But
How long were you out of work because of this fractured cheekbone?
2 weeks.
How much do you earn a week?
I had just started a new job because I just moved in the apartment, so I was only making $150 a week, about.
Did you report this incident to the police?
The police came and I didn't press charges on him.
Why?
I didn't want him to go to jail.
Why?
I know it was wrong, but I don't want to see him spend like a long time in jail or anything. I want him to go on with his life.
A couple of weeks.
A couple of weeks.
You look like a pretty strong guy. That must have been some wallop you gave her to fracture her cheekbone.
I didn't mean it. I'm saying, if somebody hit you in the mouth with a telephone, you're going to swing back. And I swung back. I didn't mean to break her jaw. You know, I feel bad about that, but I'm saying, if you're man enough to hit somebody, you're man enough to hit back.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't
Did you go to
hit
the
him
doctor?
with the phone until after.
I went to the dentist, yes.
Show me.
Right here.
Show me the bills.
Oh, I didn't bring them.
You're supposed to bring things, you
Well,
know,
I
like you're
forgot.
supposed to pay for the truck damage. You're not supposed to leave the scene of an accident. Listen, you have other children?
Yes.
How many other children do you have?
I have one son.
How old?
He's 16.
Do you ever have any talks with your daughter?
Oh, very often. I feel Jackie has come a long way since this incident and even the incidents before that. If I didn't feel that, I wouldn't have come all the way across the country with her to be here. I feel she's making big strides. She's working towards supporting herself and getting through college, and it's...
She looks like a nice young lady who is irresponsible. She's irresponsible. I know that because she had tickets that she didn't pay, so her driver's license was suspended. Did you know that?
Yes.
I've worked and paid off all my fines so
I know,
far.
but you didn't pay them as you were getting them. That's part of a responsibility of having a driver's license and driving a car. You get a ticket. The first thing you do is you go home, you write out a check, and you pay it.
That's true.
Jackie's been raised realizing that there's a reasonable consequence to every action. And these have built up on her, and she's realized it now, and I feel she's straightening her life around well. However, I don't think it's fair that this guy has taken away everything that she's had and worked towards.
Oh, I absolutely agree with you. He's a good lesson.
Just to give you a little idea about the honesty of whatever his statements are, he didn't tell you that after he had punched her, he had called my house, and my wife answered, and he told her that Jackie had been jumped on the street. He didn't tell us the real story. So when we got to the hospital, which we had to drive an hour at 3 o'clock in the morning to get there to find out what was really going on, Jackie told me the real story, and so I called the police, and however, since she wouldn't press charges, they had to release him. However, they did search him, and they didn't find her keys to her apartment, her book bag, or her bus pass, or her gold necklace.
That
which
he stole while
which
I was
he
in the
stole.
hospital.
No, I didn't. I don't like gold. Why would I steal a gold necklace? I don't like gold.
He stole my book bag and my
Nah.
keys while I was in the hospital, and you know, the next day I had to go to school. I couldn't talk. I had no book bag, no keys to my apartment. My dad had to pay $50 to get the locks changed, and then he brought the keys back 2 days later.
Let me tell you this. Your daughter has very bad judgment. I hope she recognizes that. But I'm going to tell you there's something back here that suggests to me that she still communicates with him. She may not tell you that. But I get these little hairs that's standing up in the back of my neck that suggest to me that they are not totally estranged. Do you
Your
understand
Honor.
what I mean?
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY.
Where are you working now, Mr. Hall?
I work at the Dollar Tree,
How many hours a day do you work?
like 12,
And how many days a week?
4.
Good. And you living at home with your mother?
Yeah,
Good. So you got all that money, right?
I suppose.
Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,500. That'll cover you $937, a little bit of lost wages, a little bit of pain and suffering, and start to use your judgment. Your medical bills were covered, right, by your insurance?
Yes.
Good. He's not a winner. Do you understand?
Yes.
He doesn't take responsibility for what he does. He was in an accident. He fled the accident. Looked around. Nobody saw me. I'm leaving. He wrecked your car. Took no responsibility for that either. And then, to add insult to injury, he used his fist, his hand, to put on your body hard enough to break a bone. All that would suggest to a normal person that this is somebody that you want to distance yourself from forever.
I know that.
Good. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Out the back door to you, right?
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I feel bad that I hit her, but she hit me first. And man have hit somebody, man have hit back.
You know, I think if he wants to take responsibility to drive a car and he crashes it, he should take the responsibility to pay it.
Keeman versus Tolbert. Step forward, please.
Restaurant manager Phyllis Keeman says her employee, 16-year-old Bethany Tolbert, called her foul names and split her head open with a telephone. Bethany claims it was an accident.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 184 on the calendar in the matter of Keeman versus Tolbert.
Thank you, Bird.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Have a seat, sir. Ma'am, have a seat.
According to these papers, Ms. Keeman, the defendant, this young lady, assaulted you at a fast food restaurant where you are a manager and she was an employee.
Correct.
When did this happen?
On December the 26th, approximately 8 p.m. in Cincinnati, Ohio, on Vine Street.
How long had you been working at this restaurant?
I was a substitute manager, but I had worked there maybe 3 or 4 times. My main home as a manager was in Tri-County.
And how long have you been working for this establishment?
2 years. 3 years, approximately.
And what kind of work did you do there?
I was just on the register.
You mean you were a cashier?
Uh-huh.
How long had you been working there?
I had worked there for about 3 months, and then I was like on a leave. I didn't work for about a month, and then I had just came back. It was like my 3rd day back.
3rd day?
Mm-hmm.
Had you met her before?
No.
So, Ms. Keeman, would you tell me what happened on this day in December?
On December the 26th, I was a substitute manager at Hardee's Restaurant, and we always have a main duty of like working on the cash register and secondary duties, sweep the floor, get iced tea ready and such priorities. I had given her task to do, and she was on the phone. Beth Tolbert.
You're her mother?
Yes, I'm your mother.
And I gave Beth Tolbert her duties, and she was on the phone. I came back a little bit later after cleaning the restrooms and doing some of her chores, and she was still on the phone. And I repeated that she must get off the phone. I thought maybe I'll give her a break because I'm a benevolent manager. And I gave her another chance to please do her duties and get off the phone. She stated she wanted to call her mother, but I don't know who she called. And there was a lot of profanity and a great deal of yelling on front line. As a manager...
Okay, so let me stop you right there. Yelling and profanity by whom?
Beth Tolbert.
And who was she yelling at?
Somebody on the telephone telling them what a mean vulgarity word I was, making her do something other than just ring on the cash register.
And where is the phone situated as opposed to where the patrons are?
The phone is situated by drive-through, and she was on front line. She had to go over and use the phone behind an wall, like, to use the phone.
But she was supposed to be on the cash register.
That's correct, Your Honor.
So she couldn't be on the cash register if she was on the phone?
That's correct.
Well, after there was a lot of profanity, did she finally hang up the phone?
I asked her to please clock out. I gave her a choice.
Clock out meaning?
Meaning that she should leave the restaurant, and that's all. She would be paid for the day that she could go home. She had a choice, either get off the phone or clock out. So I finally asked her to clock out. I said, if you don't leave, I will have to call the police, because at that point it's criminal trespassing. And we are taught in our managerial duties that you exercise this to the employees, that they do have other duties, and that when they're off the clock they could use the phone, but not when they're supposed to be doing their work assignments. That's my managerial right. And I asked her, I said, would you please clock out? And she went to the cash register to clock out. She said, give me that phone, I'll call the police. And I had it up to my ear and was ready to call the police. And I faked it the first time, hoping she'd shape up and quit the profanity.
What do you mean
would be
faked
the end.
it?
I called the police, but I didn't get to talk to anybody because one of the employees unplugged the receiver and I was talking to no one. And by that time she said, give me the phone, I will call the police. And I saw her heave back with the receiver of the phone, and I ducked. But unfortunately, I did not duck far enough. And I was hit with the phone up here. I didn't want to get it in the eye, and I saw it coming. And there was blood all over in my...
Right in the front of your head?
Yes, see the scar.
Could you step up, please? My eyes aren't as good as they used to be.
Likewise.
All right, there's about a scar that appears to be about 2.5 inches long. This is the mark right here that you're talking about?
Yes, and it was 3 deep, and I had a picture.
Did you see this? Did you see the scar on her forehead?
No, I haven't.
Well, would you step back, Bird? Would you accompany the plaintiff and let the defendant and her mother look at that scar?
Step over here.
Okay. You had stitches in your head?
Yes.
How many?
I had 12 to 14 on the top layer, and they told me it was 3 deep. I have no idea what the total is. I have medical reports.
How long were you out of work?
I was out of work. I was told to stay off by 3 weeks. I was told after 8 days.
Don't tell me what you were told. Just tell me how long you stayed out of work. 3 weeks?
4 or 5 days.
And tell me what kind of pain, if any, you had in your head.
I have never had headaches in my life, and I have one every day since I have been hit. I am also losing my eyesight in this eye, which the doctors are watching me very closely. I have all my medical reports, Your Honor.
Now, you were arrested, is that correct?
No.
Were you taken into police custody at any time?
No, I wasn't.
Are you telling me that there was no trial in any other court? Because according to these papers, there was a trial in another court.
Yes, there was a trial, but I'm saying I didn't get arrested or anything. The police didn't. They didn't take me.
How did you get to court, madam?
We got a letter in the mail.
It was a hearing. She filed a juvenile complaint. Ms. Keeman did it. And that's where we went to court for a hearing, an assault charge.
Okay, well, that's a trial. Hearing is a trial.
Yes.
It's just that you are 16, is that right?
17.
17?
She was 16 when that occurred.
All right, let's hear your version of what happened.
Okay. When I got there, Phyllis was with another manager there. And she was a really nice person when the other manager was there. And like if you get a break or something, no matter what, when people come in, you have to go back to the register. And so and I had a sandwich, and the whole time I had to keep coming back and forth. I couldn't go.
Couldn't go where?
I couldn't go to my break. I couldn't eat my sandwich because people kept coming in. So then the manager had finally left, and there was no more, it was like we were completely dead. And I went ahead and ate my sandwich. And then Phyllis, you know, she got mad because she didn't know that I had asked the other manager right before she had left or anything. And so that, you know, that's kind of how the attitude started towards me. And the phone rang, and she answered the phone, and it was for me, and she told me I could use it. And I got on it, and
Who was on the phone?
It was just one of my friends. He asked, "What are you doing?" "Nothing, working." And then she runs back, "Get off the phone now. You can't be sitting here talking about me and all this stuff." And I hadn't said a thing about her. And, you know, I got off the phone, and I was told to sweep behind the counter. So I said, okay. And while I was sweeping and everything, she was over by the bathrooms, just screaming something at us, and we couldn't hear her. And you know,
What do you mean you couldn't hear? If she was screaming, how could you not hear her?
We could hear her yelling, but we couldn't hear what she was saying.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She's allowed to give you an attitude, madam. She's the boss, applesauce.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Restaurant manager Phyllis Keeman is suing her former employee, Bethany Tolbert, claiming she split her head open. Bethany says it was an accident.
You said she was screaming at you, but how do you know she was screaming at you if she was screaming at all if you couldn't hear her?
No, I'm saying that she was yelling. She was just yelling something towards us when we didn't know what she was saying. And then she came up to the front. She finally came up, and she got directly in front of me, and she screamed it again. And so
she screamed what?
She screamed to get over and mop this effing floor now. And so I heard her, but I said, "What you say?" Because, you know, because I was kind of upset because, you know, she was right in my face. And so she said, "Oh, you didn't hear that?" And so she repeated it again. And I told her I was sweeping the floor, and I said, "You know, so you really don't have to speak to me that way." And she said, "Oh, I'll talk to you how the F I want to talk to you," and all this stuff. And so that's when me and her started arguing. And so she told me to clock out. And the thing with that job is that on any hour, there's like a print off that goes off, and it's 5 minutes before and 5 minutes after, and you can't clock out within that 10 minutes. And it was 8 o'clock on the dot, and I couldn't clock out. And I told her, and she said, so she picked up the phone and said she was calling the police. Then she hung up the phone. She got on the phone and said she had an insubordinate employee and she wanted her arrested, and hung up the phone. That's all she said. And so, and I kept telling her, you know, I couldn't clock out. She's like, "Get out of here!" She's screaming and everything, acting like I was gonna hurt her or something. And I'm like 12 feet away from her. So I said, well, look, I said, you need to call them back and tell them that I have 5 minutes, and I'll leave in 5 minutes, because we have always been we were told that we're not allowed to let any managers clock on our, ring in on our registers. We're not allowed to let anybody clock us out, and no matter what the reason is. So I couldn't clock out, and I didn't know her either. And so, you know, I said, well, I'll call him. I said, I'll call him back. And so I went and I picked up the phone. The phone was on the receiver. I picked up the phone. She grabbed me and started shaking me. And that's how we were pulling each other like this. And she finally pulled the phone out of my hand, and that's how she got hit.
Show me with your mother how that happened. Let's say your mother is the plaintiff. Show me, Miss Tolbert, because that's what you said in your answer. You just showed me this motion that you were tugging over the phone. So show me how she got hit on the top of the head.
Okay, she's shorter than me. It's like the way.
Use the cup as the phone.
All right. Okay, so this would be the phone, and I'm holding it. And I'm pulling it like this, and she's holding me here.
Just, would you do that, please?
I grabbed the phone.
Okay, she's grabbing me here and on my wrist.
Mm-hmm.
And we're pulling back and forth like this. And that's how she got hit, and she finally pulled it out of my hand.
That's how she got hit, on the top of her head?
Yeah, she's shorter than me.
Now, you weren't there, is that right?
That's correct, I wasn't.
Do you know anything about this case?
Yes, ma'am.
From your daughter?
From the testimonies that I've heard, all of them.
I've heard the testimony. I don't have to rely on anybody else's hearing the testimony of the witnesses. I'm relying on common sense. You do not get, if you're struggling over a telephone, a gash to the top of the head that's 3 inches long. You don't get that. I've heard this lady testify. It doesn't sound to me as if this is the kind of lady who is going to use the F word over and over again in speaking to your daughter. I want to tell you that. Just doesn't strike me that way. Now, I have just a couple of other questions for you. You took a leave, you said, from this job for a month. Why?
I was sick.
What was the matter with you?
I have migraines, and I was having some stomach problems and stuff.
How many jobs have you had?
I've been working since I was 14.
Mm-hmm.
So, one job I worked at for 2 years.
What happened to that job?
I quit.
Why?
Because it was old to me. I found a better one.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She's a very good actor, and that's what her really job should be.
And later today.
Just a second. I know what your argument is. I'm very smart. This is not a complicated case. You know, this is not the Scopes trial.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Restaurant manager Phyllis Keeman is suing her former employee Bethany Tolbert, claiming she split her head open. Bethany says it was an accident.
You assaulted this lady. She was your boss. Let me tell you something about bosses. And your mother, who takes your side in this case, even though she wasn't there, better listen very carefully. Life is sometimes not fair. And when you raise children, you're supposed to raise children to understand that there are certain authority figures. Like you start out when you're a teacher in a school. As a teacher in a school, my mother always taught me that right or wrong, the teacher was right at that moment. When the teacher told me to do something, I did it. I may come home and complain to my mother later, but I don't tell the teacher to go take a walk. I learned that when I was 6, and I learned that when I was 20, and I taught that to my children. Is that what you learned, Bird?
That's what I learned.
And then you go through life and you have bosses. And sometimes you have good bosses, and sometimes you don't have good bosses. And sometimes they're nice people, and sometimes they're not so nice people. But while they're your bosses, you listen to them. Mm-hmm. And if you don't like it, you say, I don't like this job, I'm leaving. What happened with your daughter is you didn't teach her that right from the beginning. Probably said to her, you stand up for what you think is right to your teachers when you're 6 and to your boss when you're 16. It's not what happens. I've gone through life having a lot of bosses that I didn't like, who told me a lot of stupid things. And I knew that they were stupid when they told them to me. I did them until I got disgusted, and then I said, I'm going to find another job. That's what you do.
Excuse me, can I say something?
Sure.
Okay, I had no problem with whatever, when she was telling me to do things, I had no problem doing that. I mean, I've been working since I was 14. I can go ahead and do the work.
Are you telling me that she cursed you out using the F curse word?
She sure did.
I don't believe you. What do you think about that?
What do
I don't believe you.
It?
I don't believe you.
I mean,
just like when you said in your answer, when she said to you, put down the phone or go and sweep the floor, you said to me, what did you say to me? Even though you told me just now that you heard every word that she said. You gave her an attitude.
Mm-hmm. She gave me one.
She's allowed to give you an attitude, madam. She's the boss, applesauce.
I know she's the boss, but she can't curse at me like that.
She's the boss, applesauce. So you better work really hard because she's got a 3-inch scar. She's got headaches. You had no reason to assault her. She's suing you for pain and suffering, and she's going to get the money for pain and suffering that she's suing for. Judgment in this case is $5,000 for the plaintiff. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I'm a whooper.
Out the back door to your right, please.
And I feel sorry for the other employees that have to work under her.
She's going to hell for all his lying. That's about it.
And now the next case.
Parties on Rusk versus Nelson. Step forward, please.
18-year-old student Brandon Rusk says he and 5 other seniors rented a limo for their prom. He's suing 18-year-old Krista Nelson, claiming she didn't pay her share.
Not a difficult case. You had a senior prom, a senior ball. You decided to take a limousine.
All right, on May 31st, like you said, we had our senior ball. There were 3 couples, me, my girlfriend, Krista, her date, and...
Krista?
Krista, her date.
Me.
Your date, Jeff, according to your papers.
Yes.
And her witness, Jason, and his date.
And this gentleman?
Yes.
So, did you know her date, Jeff?
No, I did not.
Who did you make your arrangement with to share the cost of this limousine?
It was me, Krista here, and Jason State.
That's not true because it was 6 ways. You happened to be paying for Colette, and Katie happened to be paying for Jason, but Jeff.
Oh, just a minute. It's getting too complicated. Mr. Rusk, you paid for the whole limousine.
Yes, I did.
And it came out to $175 per couple.
Yes, it did.
Correct. And my date was supposed to pay for it.
Just a second. You got your money from Jason.
Jason, yes, I did.
He gave you the $175.
Yes, he did.
Your problem is, Miss Nelson says that she's only paying for part of the limousine because she had a lousy time at the prom with Jeff. She's not talking to him anymore. And he didn't pay for his share. Is that the case?
That's the case with me, but my argument is that I never knew
Just
her
a second. I know what your argument is. I'm very smart. This is not a complicated case. You know, this is not the Scopes trial. When you made arrangements for this limousine, did you speak to him or did Jeff speak to him?
I spoke to him.
Stop! Say nothing else. Just answer my questions. You spoke to him. Did he ever meet Jeff before the prom? When?
Yes. We met at Columbia Pool for a while, and then we went over to Colette's house for a while. He knew, it was clear that Jeff was paying for our portion of the limo.
Just a second. The arrangement was that each of the 3 couples would pay, and you made that initial arrangement with him. Is that right?
Correct.
And then you had a conversation with your date, Jeff.
Right.
Right. Just a minute. Right. And your conversation with your date, Jeff, was, are you going to pay for this limousine?
Correct.
And Jeff said yes.
Right. And I told Brandon.
That had nothing to do with Brandon. You're Brandon, right?
Yes,
Brandon Rusk. Your original agreement with him was, when he arranged for this limousine, that your third was going to be paid.
Yes.
You then had a conversation with Jeff.
No. No, from the very beginning, we all sat down and made plans together that we were going to go. We contacted the limo place, everything.
Who's we?
All of us. We all got together and did it besides Jeff. Jeff was the only one who wasn't there.
Right.
But I told Brandon from the beginning that Jeff would be paying, that I was going to get Jeff to pay for our portion of the limo.
That's your problem.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Don't you hear what you're saying, madam? Jeff wasn't there when you made the arrangements. He relied on the fact that you, as his friend, were going to be responsible for a third of it. You later spoke to Jeff, because Jeff wasn't there when you made these arrangements, according to your own statement. Look, you gotta pay for your portion. You wanna sue Jeff? Sue him. He shouldn't be out the money.
And I agree.
Good. $175 for the plaintiff, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
The night of senior ball, it ended up being a bad experience, and he basically left all night long, and I wasn't with him at all.
We went through the senior ball as planned, you know, had a good time except for Krista and her date, but Krista had a good time on her own.
Can we get a hug, Krista?
Yeah.